Chapter 14. Perspective. Lypye's perspective. At the god world, I was feared and shunned by almost every god in existence. To the mortals, I was this dangerous big bad evil that wasn't to be trusted. To my siblings, I was a nuisance that was destined to be evil. To Jasmine, I was a short-tempered, misguided soul, but a friend and sister at the same time. She was the first one in a very long time that showed me a shred of kindness. Without her, I would have felt truly alone, especially after my henchmen turned their backs on me. 3 months ago, I was building a deadly laser, and now I'm sitting in a bedroom with a mortal I call a friend who's teaching me how to do math. "What did you get?" she asked me. 27, I responded. She smiled patiently. "That would be correct if you were adding them. I asked 14 times 13. She guided me and gave me tips as to how to get the answer. I shook my head. "It's no use. I'm a complete idiot." "No," she said firmly. "Look, I've never tutored someone older than me on 3rd grade math, but I also understand the circumstances. You're not stupid. You weren't taught." I sighed and attempted to follow Jasmine's tips. "Wait," I piped up, writing faster. 182. Jasmine jumped up and hugged me. "You did it!" She let go quickly, embarrassed. "Sorry," I laughed. "Thanks. I have a question," Jasmine said nervously. "Shoot." "How did you learn how to read and write? How did you not learn how to do math?" I paused for a moment. "I came up with the plans, but King and Kim built everything. They did all the math, so I didn't have to. The only thing they taught me was how to hack. English, on the other hand, well," I sighed. "King kept calling me a dumbass for asking him what certain things said, so I broke into a bookstore and stole books on the ABCs and the dictionary. From there, I learned how to pronounce the letters of the alphabet, and I learned short vowels versus long vowels. After that, I began slowly learning how to pronounce words by reading a dictionary." She smiled, amused, attempting to hold back laughter. "You," she burst out laughing, "you, the goddess of darkness, broke into a bookstore to steal baby books and a dictionary?" I tried to look annoyed, but soon burst out laughing at well, who was I going to ask for help? My henchman? She shrugged in agreement. "Fair point." We heard a knock on the door. I opened the door to see Nicholas with his arms crossed, clearly annoyed. "I don't know what's so funny, but could you please keep it down?" I thought for a moment, then grabbed Nicholas by the arm, dragging him into the room. "I should probably tell you something." "Sarah," Jasmine said in a warning tone. I glanced at her, then back at Nicholas. "It's Lypye, actually." Nicholas looked at me, confused, before laughing. "You almost got me there. Do you honestly think I'm that gullible?" I shook my head, looking serious. "Nope, I don't." "Were you serious?" he said. We stayed silent for a few seconds. "Prove it." I took a deep breath. "Okay, but get behind me and hold on to me." Nicholas and Jasmine did as instructed, each holding on to one of my arms. I raised the arm that Jasmine was holding onto, and I closed my eyes. Listening for the sound of my breathing, I found my concentration and opened my eyes, creating a small black hole. I stared at it and kept my hand up, controlling what does and doesn't get swallowed. "Whoa, it is you!" I heard Nicholas exclaim. "If it wasn't life-threatening, it would probably be more beautiful," Jasmine said curiously. I closed my hand into a fist, closing the black hole, then fell back into the wall, taking deep breaths. Jasmine held on to me while Nicholas let go. Jasmine grabbed my shoulders. "Are you okay?" "Yeah." I sat down on the bed. Doing that just tires me out. I've actually passed out and lost control once. I've also learned that I have to close it if I'm losing concentration. "That's a little too powerful if you ask me," Jasmine commented. I nodded in agreement. It wasn't my power to begin with. "Wait," Nicholas began. "Jasmine, have you known the whole time?" She nodded slowly, smiling awkwardly. He sighed. "Why didn't you tell me? Does Mom know she adopted the most wanted criminal on Karth?" "No, and she doesn't need to know," Jasmine snapped. "It was Lypye's decision if she wanted to tell you or not." "So you're breaking the law and lying," he gasped. "My sister isn't as square as I thought." He then turned to me, a little angry. What did you do? I put my hands up. I may have threatened her the day she met me. He shrugged. Makes sense. He narrowed his eyes. And now, 3 months later, would you threaten her? I shook my head. I found a friend I never thought I could have. Why would I throw that away? Nicholas thought for a moment. Can I talk to you into the hallway, Lypye? Alone? I nodded, walking into the hallway with Nicholas away from the bedroom. Nicholas paced back and forth. Look, I'm both happy and amazed that you two have such a strong friendship. I studied him, crossing my arms. But... He stopped to look at me, concerned. Do you really think you're what Jasmine needs right now? I stared at him, confused. What are you getting at? Jasmine is a stubborn but nice girl with a bright future. Feels like she's risking jail time by hiding you. I got in his face. Jagwerye knows I'm here. She knows that Jasmine knows who I am. She hasn't even attempted to arrest either of us. He pushed me backwards. Is that because she trusts you, or because she can't arrest you as Sarah Brown? I'm thinking with the best interest for my sister. You should too. He ran away from me, running downstairs. I sat down in the hallway and stared at the wall, hurt. Maybe Nicholas had a point. She's the first one to ever trust me. I needed her, but at what cost? Am I completely ruining her future by staying here? By being her friend? Did my actions ruin any future I might have to fix things? I hugged my knees, holding back tears. She said it herself. She's wanted to get rid of me since day one, not to mention my bad influence. If I stay much longer, Jasmine might become more like me. The feeling of loneliness finally set in as I realized I would have to be the one to leave. I took a deep breath and walked back into the bedroom, hiding all the pain. Jasmine looked up at me. What did he want? He had a lot of questions and didn't want you picking on him. I lied. She crossed her arms. You're lying to me. I clenched my fist. Let's just drop it. Lypye. She started grabbing my shoulder. I whacked her hand off of my shoulder. You hide your feelings all the time. Why can't I? Because I know how painful it is. I put my finger in her face. You have no fucking idea how I feel. I turned to leave, but Jasmine wasn't finished. I know it hurts enough to feel your anger. I turned back around. Quit trying to play therapist. She was shaking with anger. Maybe I shouldn't genuinely care about you. I grabbed her arm. Maybe I should just get rid of you instead. She got in my face. Go ahead and do it. I held up my hand. She kept her cold stare fixed on me, not moving a muscle. Jasmine? I've seen her upset and defensive, but I never took her for someone who stands their ground. Someone who's not afraid to face death head on. Closing my hand into a fist, I slowly lowered my hand and let go of her. If mortals who didn't know Jasmine found out about me, she would most likely be shunned. If my siblings found me, she'd be arrested. If the other gods found out, it might be worse. She's in danger while I'm staying here. Her innocence, her future, her life. She shook her head and walked to the door, then turned to face me. I don't know what's gotten into you, but I'm going to suggest you stop making anger your default emotion. She turned back around and walked out, slamming the door behind her. I sat on the bed and teared up. I don't know what else to rely on. My temper isn't the greatest, and I try my hardest not to shed a tear. I'm not sure what love or happiness feels like, and I've never had to watch what I say. Respect has never been shown to me, nor has it been given to me. How do I meet Jasmine's expectations? Chapter 15. True Good? Jagwerye's Perspective. I sat at the discussion table with my head on the table, not wanting to run the meeting today. Syara came over and laid her head on the table, coming face to face with me. Alright, what's wrong? It is nothing, I mumbled. Syara stood up, came up behind me, and pulled me to my feet. Quit moping and talk to us. I shook my head. I am just tired. Hyena came over to us and studied my face. Well, this is to change. I've never heard you lie before. I took a deep breath. Just drop it, okay? Syara grabbed my shoulders. You can talk to us. I'm fine! I snapped, shouldering her off with me. They both stared at me in shock. This was the first time I had ever snapped to anyone. I've always been calm, reserved, and patient, taught to give everyone the same respect I want. How could I admit to the team that I was questioning myself, questioning how I felt about Lypye? I've always known her to be evil, or have been taught that she was evil, but the Lypye I met the other day was different. It was more obvious that her anger was because of me being there. It was also obvious that this mortal makes her happy, and there's no secrets or hostility between the two. Lypye, the other day, seemed more at peace, and the outfit she bought wasn't saying, "I'm evil," or "I'm trying to hide." It said, "I can be me." Maybe that's Jasmine's goal. If I let Lypye stay, she might turn her back on evil for good. If I tell Pantheria and Hyena, I know for a fact that with Lypye being there and Jasmine knowing her identity, they'll definitely try to arrest both of them at the best given moment. I blinked, realizing that Pantheria was waving her hand in my face. "Hello, Jagwerye? You there?" "Yeah, just thinking," I responded. "About?" Pantheria pushed. "None of your business," I snapped. Again. Hyena crossed his arms. "I don't know what's gotten into you, but don't snap at her." "Am I not allowed to have secrets?" I asked. "Jagwerye." Pantheria stared at me, a serious look in her eyes. "Not once in your entire life have you ever kept secrets from the two of us. I know you to be very patient, but not one to snap at others. Certainly not your team. If something is wrong, you can talk to us." "Been spending too much time with Lypye, if you ask me," Hyena mumbled. "Nothing is wrong, and it is not Lypye," I lied. "I am just not ready to talk." "And you're lying," Hyena continued. "Further proves my point." I shouldered past them, really mad. "Whatever." "And you're acting just like her," Hyena called after me. I turned back around with my hands clenched. "Just drop it, Hyena." He got in my face. "Do I need to get Mom to talk to you? Your attitude is out of control." I rolled my eyes. Meeting adjourned. I rushed out of the discussion room to my room. My entire room was white. White bed frame and covers, white curtains, white carpet, white dresser, white marble desk. Well, you get the picture. I flopped onto the bed and began crying into the pillows. I didn't want to snap, but I don't want to talk about the other day. It was the first time in a very long time that Lypye and I got along, and the first time that I can remember that we did something fun together. I'm certain that Jasmine is the key to helping Lypye, but at what cost? As Lypye eased up and became nicer, the more I had to keep from my team to keep the progression going. My actions today showed that I'm not as good as I thought, just like Lypye's actions have proved that she's not as evil as I thought. This mortal, Jasmine, is also at risk. Her future and innocence could be at risk, but her well-being was more concerning. Lypye's powers were terrifying and powerful. She could easily kill this mortal. I was going to continue to keep an eye on them. Lypye was hard to read, but Jasmine very clearly trusts Lypye, whether she admits it or not. The biggest concern I have is where Kim and Carl fit in. They haven't shown their faces much, but we've been more focused on Lypye. I hope that Lypye isn't just a distraction, but is actually changing. I want to get to know my older sister. I heard a quiet knock on the door. I sat up and faced the door. "You may enter," I called. The door slowly opened and Pantheria poked her head in, looking nervous. "Hey, I wanted to check on you. You just started to worry me," she said quietly. I sat up and wiped my tears, looking at her. "I am honestly fine." She sat on the bed, sitting next to me. "Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never seen you act like this. You've never snapped, never stormed out, never lied. Hyena, you know he isn't the best with words, but he's worried about you as well." I looked away, taking deep breaths, trying hardest not to cry. I do not know what has gotten into me. There is something I am keeping from you, but it is for a good reason. Is there anything you can tell me?" Pantheria asked. I stayed quiet for a while. I hung out with Lypye at the mall the other day. Her eyes widened. "Really? How did that go? Was it planned?" I shook my head. I was looking for more clothes to wear as Jay, and I ran into her by the changing rooms. We got to talking, which was strange at first. Then we got food, then we went to the arcade, and the strain slowly dissipated from there. She seemed like a completely different Lypye. She thought for a moment. Was the mortal there too? I closed my eyes and shook my head. No, she wasn't. I opened my eyes. Syria crossed her arms and raised her eyebrows. Have you never lied before? Because you're terrible at it. I sighed. Do not tell Hyena. Not yet. I feel like this mortal can help Lypye if we only observe. Our job is to protect the mortals and stop all evildoers, Jagwerye. You want to leave this mortal with Lypye? I grabbed her shoulders. You said it yourself. Something will break the cycle with Lypye. What if this mortal is that something? She stared into my eyes for a while, then shouldered my hands off of her, standing up. Let me get this straight. You want to risk leaving this mortal in danger because you think she could change Lypye? I stood up, panicking. I saw something the other day between the two. Jasmine is showing Lypye the good in the world, and Lypye is trying to hide it, but it is obvious that she cares. She crossed her arms. I won't tell Hyena, but if anything happens to that mortal, I'm holding you accountable. Clenching her fist, she stormed out of my room and slammed the door. I sat on my bed and closed my eyes, taking slow breaths. If she really is the one, that's good, but at what cost? I understand Pantheria's concern. I'm also playing a dangerous game of life or death with this mortal, and with Pantheria being the goddess of life, that could probably be an irritating situation. Maybe I was convincing myself that the mortal was safe. She seemed to be okay, but what if it's all an act?